Perfect.
Oh, Thomas, you look great. And Laura, you look so pretty.
Thanks. Okay.
We literally have nothing to get ready for right now. So we were like, let's get ready.
Maybe I'm not wearing pants.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too.
So yeah, this is Thomas and Laura, our two winners of Red Carpet Realness and Iconic Blonde. This is Miss Kirsten Klontz, who is Brook Lynn's celebrity wig designer. So today we're just gonna like touch base, see, make sure you guys are all good to go with the coloring of your wigs, answer any questions that you have. We already did a little live with Kayla, who is the other winner. So I don't know if she answered lots of your questions or not, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but yeah, we can just, kind of maybe break down exactly each one of your looks and then kind of take it from there.
Sure, yeah.
Sounds good.
Any blazing questions right off the bat?
Nothing blazing, I guess.
Okay.
Like Laura grabbed, Laura and I can't see each other right now because we're not in the same bubble.
Yeah.
So Laura grabbed the wigs from the post office the other day and dropped mine on my doorstep this morning and ran away. So today is the first day that I'm seeing it. So it looks good. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with human hair wigs. Obviously I've seen like a lot of good quality synthetic wigs and stuff. So the hair feels really good.
Well, maybe Kirsten can explain your guys' wig selections because she chose the wigs for each one of your looks.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'll kind of give you like the rundown with them. So Laura, yours is a little bit different with the root. I know you had the question about the lace being.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one, that was one that I've owned. It hasn't been worn yet, but I did cut the lace off. So how you want to handle that on a mannequin is the best thing to do is get maybe an extra shoestring. And you can push it down on a mannequin head. You don't need to have a bald head necessarily. Like sometimes I'll take the ones that a mannequin that even has hair on it and I just wrap, like kind of cover the hair flat with saran wrap and then I'll put it down on that. But the trick is like, you still want to keep the lace intact. So just use a shoelace is really handy, or even I'll fold up like paper towel or some kind of card small. And you just want to put your pins through just as like a protective barrier between the lace and the pins, because sometimes what happens is the pins, if they're wiggling around a little bit on the lace, they can tear it. So as long as you have something, it doesn't matter that the lace is cut short, like you can put the pins right into the hairline, like where the hair is, that's fine, but just make sure to put a little like cushion of something between the pin and the lace, and that's it. That's the only protective thing that's really important. And then when you're working with it too, I'd recommend that you pull it down as much as you possibly can, because when if you don't really stretch it over the head as hard as you can, what happens is it gets all these ripples in the back or sometimes around the temple area, and it makes it a little bit trickier if you're adding foils or depending how you're doing your color placement. You just want it as tight as possible, because sometimes you'll get these ripples and then the placement will actually change when it's on the head and you're like, oh, that's just a little not where I thought it was, right? So yeah, just
great.
And that wig was one that Kirsten had from Bellamy, right?
Yeah, that's a Bellamy wig.
It's a really nice quality. Like there's a lot of hair on that wig.
Yeah, it's got a good density to that one. And then it's also rooted. So I thought it would save you the trouble of having to fill the root before you put your wig. That specifically, I was like, I'm going to save an afternoon for you.
That's literally, I was like, I feel like the only reason that this wig is as warm as it is at the root is because Kristen must have been like, this is the filler. Like,
yeah.
That's a smart move, because I was like, okay, we'll work with that. That'll be fine.
Yeah, no, so that's the filler for your root. So it's, as long as it's should be a great filler, because for wigs you should always fill.
Yeah. So when we put it on the mannequin, like how you said to wrap the front and pin, should we pin like in various places throughout the head also to like really keep it on, or what do you recommend for that?
Yeah, like I usually frame the hairline, like I'll maybe put 6 or 8, and then 1 in the back, and then I usually put 4
Like
kind
an
of,
8 or something.
yeah.
Okay,
But yeah,
cool.
usually 1 right in the top there, and that's normally enough, I find.
Okay, great.
The other thing is too, is if your head is a little bit wobbly on like your C-clamp stand, another trick is you can take some paper towel and put that over like the dowel head. Hang on, I'll just grab one quickly so you can see. Here, I'll show you one that I made. But you can like take your clamp and then put paper towel over there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then put the paper towel in, because then it just helps it from like wiggling around on there.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes it a lot more secure, and especially when you're like coloring it and doing the little sectioning, I find it really helps.
Do you think it would be easier for us to use a styrofoam head versus like a plastic traditional mannequin head that already has hair? Or would the styrofoam rip and that would be more annoying? Or
I'll do either. Like honestly, either's fine. The styrofoam actually will wiggle more on the stands. So
okay.
for styling, you can usually get away with it on a styrofoam, but for coloring, probably if you've got a plastic one, I would probably use that when you're dyeing it instead. 'Cause it
Great.
doesn't
We
weigh
have
much.
6
Yeah.
tubs of them, so we should be okay.
Tubs of heads in the
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah.
So Laura,
Yes.
what did you actually use to create your look? With pulp, let's break it down so we're making sure we're using the right products based on that like hair type and everything like that. So what did you use?
Well, my look actually was done on a really good friend of mine. It was, I think, maybe her first visit post our first COVID lockdown. So she had quite a lot of root. So the root in that photo is actually just her natural root.
Oh, amazing.
Which is like a level 7 ash, which couldn't be better, right?
Yeah.
So the look honestly was just achieved by doing like a strategic foil placement. So I did a bit of like a money piece in the front and then some blending pieces through the top and just some face framing. So I think in general, like I probably did maybe like 12 foils, and then I toned it with icy and moonstone.
So this is gonna have to be, you're almost gonna have to do this like backwards.
Backwards,
I
yeah.
know, yeah. I know. That's what I said. I was like, oh, great.
I know. So your real skill is gonna get tested here for sure.
I know.
This is
I
amazing.
know. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
I guess like starting out, whenever like whatever formula you choose to use, my little trick is I always do a test swatch, because that hair is still quite raw and it will absorb quickly. So normally I dilute my formulas to like with half clear as a starting point to see. But what you can do on both of those wigs is you can snip off a bit of hair underneath from the nape, and I use that just to sample each thing before I actually put it on. Because sometimes, and like every one of those wigs acts a little bit differently. Like sometimes they don't grab too much, and then sometimes they'll really suck it up in literally a minute, and you're like, whoa, that's gone quick. So I always do a test swatch before I actually start applying it with every tone. So yeah, like don't be afraid to cut off like a good inch from the nape, and then do a little swatch before you actually go on and put it on the head.
Right. So, and for this wig, for my look in particular, where she's so blonde, would you suggest doing like foils and conditioner or something to like hold out what I'm going to be doing? Or should I use a bleach foil like to put in those parts like in the front and stuff?
Yeah, like you can use lightener on the front. Like if you want to emphasize that money piece in the front, yeah, don't be afraid. I usually, with the wigs, when I'm using lightener, my rule is kind of like low and slow with them. Because if you go too strong, it like you get that kind of melty texture easily.
Yeah, sure.
So I usually find, because they're so processed already, 20 volume I find is fine.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Well, like, and like that's one thing that Brooklyn really loved about yours was the money piece. So any way that you can make sure to like really accentuate the money piece. So if you almost have to redo it, and like you would like putting the foils in and then do it all backwards.
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking, I don't know if it makes sense, but kind of like putting in my shadow root first, and then going in and placing the foils where they need to be placed.
I think that would probably be the easiest way for you to go about it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, cool. So I guess my main questions with mine about the coloring, since the wig is like quite gold but very light, and since my final look is quite cool tone but still really light, do you recommend like a violet shampoo dunk bath first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And would you recommend applying the color on the damp hair? On the look that I did, and mine's different from Laura's because my look was initially done on a mannequin. So I used Faction 8 as demi-permanent color and applied it to the damp mannequin. So I'm just kind of wondering if I should try that first, I guess. Because even the pink in my look is more of like a toner as opposed to like a color, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I should go about it on damp first and see what it does, or
I think that would be good. Like I would definitely, what I would do with that is rinse it first.
yeah.
And then maybe even like dilute it a little bit, the shampoo, because sometimes too, like even just depending on that one in particular, like it's interesting because like
Yeah.
sometimes they're good and sometimes you're not.
It's very light, like it is gold, but very light.
Would you
So
tone it or just shampoo it first? Like, would you actually like go in and tone it?
I would shampoo it first
Okay.
and then try toning, like because you had that piece also in the front
yeah,
and then the rest. So then you could, if you wanted to get it like really crystal clear, you could go in and like foil out a section after like a shampoo on it. And then go in and just do like a normal tone application of like the two different zones, right?
yeah, exactly. Because it is like a pretty, it's a pretty simple, like I was thinking of slightly altering the position a little bit just because I feel like Brooke would like it more, because this was kind of rooted about like 3 solid inches with the pink and then transitioned into with the silver and then transitioned into the pink. But I was thinking that of also kind of doing like a money piece with the light pink or something, so that there'd be like something around the face or dragging the blonde down a bit more.
I would honestly, like from talking, she says that because your wig's longer, right?
Yeah.
She says to leave it longer. So
Yeah.
don't cut it blunt because that
Yeah.
will just give her more room.
Yeah.
And if you want to go blonder in the front, like a lighter pink, she's
Yeah.
totally cool with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just kind of want it to be really versatile for her. And like,
Totally.
I feel like the color placement I did will be good, but I just want to move it a little bit so she can get like more out of it, I guess.
Like
What about the pale pink toner?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of changing the formula slightly that I did on the mannequin to this wig, just because I think it would work a bit better for like what I think at least Brooke's style is and what she is looking for and what she would wear. So yeah, my other question was, because the styling on mine was that like very, glam kind of styling. Do you want me to style it like that and then ship it back in like a refrigerator box? Or like, do you want me to just ship it to you like colored and you'll style it? Because I feel like to ship, I mean, I know it happens all the time that wigs get shipped, but obviously if I'm going to give it like I can't just throw it in an envelope.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. So like if you're, I would recommend like, don't worry too much about the styling because the easiest way to ship them is how I did it, like put them in an envelope.
Yeah.
Because if you're shipping them, you have to ship them like fragile and you have to tape them down in a box so that they stay upright the entire time. And even if they probably do flip around in ship anyways, that it's got to be really stable. So it's most people, like when they're shipping them internationally, they'll just use an envelope.
Yeah, and I was thinking that if I styled it, because obviously for that kind of styling, it involves like a lot of product, and I was like, I don't really want to like use a ton of product, style it, ship it, have it get messed up, and then you have to restyle it, but it already has so much product
It
in
would
it.
almost make it harder. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't really want it to be like a bit or arrive in a disaster, so I'll just send it back in the little house that it came in, its little box.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then with the money piece too, because she's moving her part around quite a bit. Like
Yeah.
she'll do center part. She's been going left now too and right. So like how if I were you too, I wouldn't be afraid to like extend that down a little bit in case.
Yeah.
So if you just think of like you hit it so it's over the arch of the eyebrow. So if she goes either way, that you'll still get that big
Okay.
right.
Yeah, for my look, I was thinking about, honestly, since it is a like the pink group going in, or sorry, the icy blonde going into the pink ends. I was thinking about doing like the money piece, kind of like the whole perimeter, like the whole front. And since it is styled like as a glam look, if it was like blown back or something, I think it would look really good, because you know what I mean, then it would have that zhuzh.
Someone watch Brooke's videos.
No, we know drag queens, don't worry. If Laura and I know anything, it's hair and drag queens, so don't worry about it.
That green one that had that really cool kind of silk piece in the front too, and so that one was like a big triangle section.
Right.
Yeah, and I took probably 3 inches back actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the same thing. I was kind of having the same thought process as Thomas, which was like make that money piece in the front with my blonde, just kind of accentuate everything a little bit more than it is in the actual photo.
Yeah, like exaggerating what you would normally do is a really good way to go. And especially because when they are styled, they are kind of larger than life a lot of the time. Right?
And especially if they are going to be on camera or on film or something, I feel like minor details will get lost. It would almost be like so much like work for nothing, kind of, if you were doing minuscule details. I feel like it needs the pop behind it, so that you can see it for sure. And as far as like with Laura and I's, both of our looks with the styling, I feel like when queens, the wigs they wear, they're either like sleek and straight and a center part, or they, if they're wavy and stuff, they do seem to always be slightly elevated away from the face a little bit. So I think that like a money piece on either of them would probably work really well.
Yeah, the reason why they do that like slight pushback and elevation with the waves is so they don't catch shadow on their face.
Yeah.
So if they're moving around on like photo shoots or in video on camera, it's just that like all the lights are really blasting from the front, but it's they're tilting their head down that they don't get a shadow, because when it drops over, that's when you get like a cast on the face.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a reason for that.
So a wig question. So the lace on my wig is this little square here.
Yeah.
So because this is more like solid cap and no lace, is this the kind of wig that like you wouldn't wear up in a ponytail and stuff? Do you know what I mean? Or
so there's two methods to like how you can get there, right? You can do something like that, but then a lot of times what people will do is they'll take their razor and they'll cut along the perimeters and they'll style down like baby hairs to the natural hairline, because a full lace wig where like it's lace all the way, like some people go that route, but they can get very pricey. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, that's different. So if you're not using a full lace wig, you would do a ponytail, or most people just will go along the hairline and cut like a couple centimeters of hair, and then they'll use gel and style it down so that it's kind of hard and it doesn't lift, because you can't tell that it's like rock hard gel on.
I've always wondered what those baby hairs were all about.
It's to hide the seam.
I'm literally like, I don't understand how they get these wigs off, because
I have no idea.
The stocking, the duct tape, the glue, the gel, the blasting of the heat. I'm like, And especially the queens that have like quite a bit of hair under the wig. Like I know a lot of queens end up just like buzzing their hair because it's so much easier to not have hair, I feel.
Yeah, you'll see when they shave the sides.
Yeah.
Shave the sides, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, how do you get this off? I feel like it's on for life.
They have some like adhesive removers or like alcohol. A lot of people use straight alcohol. Like the
Ew.
girls, like Brook Lynn, the first couple times I worked with her, and then I went to a gig where she was performing. I was like, what are you doing? And she was using like nail glue to glue her earrings onto her ear. So she has her ears pierced. So she has the stud goes through her earlobe, but
And then nail. Oh my god.
glued to like, because they're heavy. So if you're flipping upside down, they still have to stay on. Yeah. And then she just
Especially
like,
her because she's like the stunt queen. So
yeah, and then she just pulls them right off. So it's like they have little calluses built up in all areas.
Gosh, I was always wondering how that happened because I can't like walk from my bathroom to my door without like
an earring
earring
popping
falling
off.
out. I'm like, how did they do a backflip? You know?
Yeah. Just
Seriously.
cartwheeling.
Well, that's you see them when like the wigs fly off and you're like, no.
But yeah, as far as I guess the process goes, my main questions were if it was okay for us to slightly switch the positioning of our color a little bit, and if you wanted them styled. So those are my two main questions, I guess. So I'll kind of like start, and obviously like I'll start with a shampoo bath, and I'm literally thinking of like filling the shampoo sink up at the salon with water and putting like 2 pumps of like purple shampoo in and just dunking and looking at it, dunking and looking at it, you know, because I do feel like, because even when we do that with extensions and stuff, it happens so quick. Like they're in and they're out and they're white. Like, so.
Yeah, that's good. And like sometimes whenever I'm coloring mine, I always bring a ring light. So I have like natural bright, like a white light nearby too to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the safest thing to do, definitely.
Okay,
like
cool.
Yeah, as long as you have good light, like don't be doing it late at night would be my
No.
What about
go to bed early?
I have a question with like the silver roots. So like because like Paul Pryat Faction 8 is quite dark and it's quite ashy, would you, but also it can fill quite a bit, would you like start with a lighter root and then apply afterwards, or because just to make sure it doesn't go too dark, or what do you think?
I always start like my rule of thumb is start at the halfway point of what I think.
Yeah, okay.
Well, to be honest, like my look on the mannequin, the root formula is a level 8 and a level 9 ash with a little bit of a level 11 like violet. So, and that was with permanent color made into a demi. So I was actually thinking about doing the purple shampoo bath, seeing what happens there, and then possibly switching over and instead using like a liquid demi so I can dilute it like half with clear. And just kind of like see what happens, I guess. Like I'm trying to treat it as, I'm trying to just pretend it's hair on a client, keeping in mind that it's just more porous. You know, like I'm trying to not let the wig aspect of it freak me out, because I'm like, I know how to do hair. I know how to color hair. This is hair.
Pretend it's the most like frazzled client.
But also it doesn't matter as much. Like if it is a little bit deeper and more dramatic, it's, you know what I mean? Like that's good. It will come out better.
Yeah, like if anything goes wrong, you can use dish soap on it because it's not a client.
Literally, and you can cry without them seeing. It won't matter.
Exactly.
So I think those were my personal main questions. Do you have any like advice or tips on anything that we didn't ask you, I guess? Or
I would mainly say swatch it out before you put anything on, and don't set a timer and walk away for 20 minutes. Like check it every few minutes because it go really fast sometimes, like really fast. So if try to think of like the easiest way you can do like your application as fast as possible too.
Yes. Okay.
There's been times like I do a trick with my dye where I'll actually, you know, those continuous spray bottles.
Yeah.
I'll actually put my dye in one of those
Mhm.
and spray the hair because I can emulsify it and work it through the hair a lot quicker than if I'm using a bowl and brush. Because then I'm just
Right.
spraying on a section, pulling
Yeah.
through, spraying, pulling it
And
through.
I also feel like because they're so porous, like if you were using a brush, or in the same way if you were using an applicator bottle, you wouldn't, like where you start applying, I feel like it's so porous you would get almost like a line of where you started. Do you know what I mean? Like, or I wouldn't want to start squirting the applicator bottle on them and have it like almost stain in the
Have a
pattern
line.
you're squirting it, because like I do feel like they are so porous. So that is a good point to kind of figure out the best method to get it on as fast as you can.
Yeah, like if you're working with the damp hair though, like you'll get through it really quick.
Yeah.
'Cause the thing too, like you can like other times is I'll literally make a big bowl of color, and if the hair is damp, then I'll just literally like dunk it in and massage it in, and then
Yeah.
you like section out that front piece and like deal with that later, because that might be a
Right.
quicker way to get your application on.
That's what I was gonna say to Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, what about the water technique?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that might
I
help
guess-
for your light pink.
Yeah, I guess my main concern with doing something like that is how often are they washed, I guess, because like the more you dilute color in the beginning,
Yeah.
the less, the less length of time it's going to stay. So
Yeah, they don't like they wash them maybe like a couple times a year. So
yeah.
you have to worry about that.
Okay, great.
Usually they don't get oily or beat up because they've got the wig caps underneath. So completely different than your normal client, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do the money piece with like blush, like
Yeah.
a water technique with blush, just like that,
exactly.
and then the rest of it darker.
Yeah,
it might be
exactly.
really nice.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
And I was just thinking too, like as I was listening,
Mhm.
so where I'm going to be going in first and putting my shadow root in before I go back in and do my foil placement, I would assume that's best to do like on damp hair and then let that air dry before I go back in, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like rinse
Yeah.
it and let it air dry and then go in and foil.
Yeah. And kind of like do it in a couple different steps rather
Sections,
than
yeah.
try to do it all at once.
Yeah, I think that would be the easiest way to
Okay.
go about it for sure. Like take your time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is air drying them what you would suggest, like in general, or like once we're finished the color, should we like blow them out and style them a bit, or just air dry them?
You can air dry it if you want to blow it out a little bit to see the color. It's fine. They're
Okay.
totally okay to do that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Like I usually just use a vent brush and like work it back and forth
Yeah.
Yeah.
through the front, and that's usually enough before I go in and start setting them or anything.
Okay.
Do you ever like secretly just put them on your own head and blow dry them?
All the time.
I've seen
I've
posts
got
in person
pictures
with
myself most of them, but I'm like, oh, these ones, they have to go in the vault because you just want to know what they look like, right?
Literally, yeah.
Thomas and
God.
I absolutely did not have these wigs on our heads earlier.
Yeah. Would never.
Can you guys take some really good content so we can post it on IG, like wearing the wigs to start as a before?
Literally.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then
Sure.
we'll see how they're transformed.
Literally, yeah. No, I feel pretty good about it. Like, I'm super excited. I'm glad that we have, obviously, you, Kristen, as a resource. Like, Laura and I color a lot of hair, and, we've just never had the opportunity to do a wig for someone specifically. And I get like, really, we just don't want to screw it up. Do you know what I mean? So I'm glad that we have you as a resource that we can kind of bounce some ideas off of. Because like I said, I can color hair and we color hair all the time, but I do know that this is different and similar, and like there's a lot involved. So
Yeah, and it's a nice thing to get familiar with too, because like a lot of stylists, like they're not trained how to do that. And like I had a woman approach me over the first lockdown, and this friend that she worked with was going through cancer treatment, lost all her hair, but nothing was open, so she couldn't get any wigs. So she was like, do you think you could help me? And I was like, absolutely. Like, send me pictures of how her hair used to look, what it used to look like, and I'll make you a couple custom wigs, and those can be for her. So they did it a kind of as like a surprise gift for her.
Yeah,
She
cool.
was so overwhelmed and happy. And
That's
like,
amazing.
you know, so it really is a skill set that I hope like more people get into and play around with, because you can do a lot of fun things. You can also help a lot of people with it, right?
Yeah, Laura and I have both always been interested in it, and Laura volunteers at our local hospital with a program for people going through cancer patients, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
I'm familiar with fitting wigs and choosing colors, but I've never custom colored one.
Cool.
However, it is something I would love to learn, because I do have a network of people that have started to ask me, oh, could you do this? Could you do that? And I'm like, I'm sure I can. I've just never tried it. But
anything, you get comfortable, and
Yeah.
then next thing you know, you're like, okay, I'm gonna take this, and like,
yeah, and there also seems to be such a secret, weird underground black market of like where to get wigs, especially like where we live. There's literally nowhere to buy wigs. Like I know in larger cities you can go to like hair supply stores and stuff. Like we don't have that. So for us, we're just like, where we get that hair.
It's a big industry, and people get them all over the world. Like I've met a bunch of people across Canada who really like, that's what they do with pulprite specifically. They do with our semi-permanents, with pastels. They like color wigs for everyone all over the world. So it kind of, it's a big, like you said, a big underground thing, and there's no education on it for anyone ever. So like that's why we really wanted to put all this together, so that we could really show people that that we're great for coloring wigs, and that there's a need for wigs. Who wants to actually, right? Like if you can just put wigs on all the time, like the Kardashians, then you're golden.
Literally.
No, I've got some clients here that are like trendy little fashionistas, and they come into the salon, and I'll braid their hair and do their wig application and send them out on a Saturday night, like when things are normal. And like,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. Like it's becoming, it's a lot, like it used to be something you didn't talk about, that wearing them for a reason, but now it's almost like a costuming, like they're getting done up and it's part of their outfit. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more openness to it too, which is great.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks, guys. Do you have any other kind of big questions before we wrap up?
I think I'm okay. And honestly, if I have any burning questions, I'll just reach out. But I think we covered pretty much everything I know that I personally was wondering. And yeah, I'm excited to do it for sure. Laura and I were discussing how, you know, it's been kind of weird. Like we've been closed for weeks now. So we're finding it hard to be like motivated and inspired to like want to do hair, because we're like not allowed to do hair. So like, hopefully this will maybe kind of make me remember why I love my job or something, you know what I mean? Because right now it's a little bleak. So
it'll get us back to the salon, and
I
think we could be there together if we're 6 feet apart and masked and all that stuff. So we can, because it's cool that we get to do that together, you know what I mean? So
and have fun with it.
right,
like have fun with it. It's supposed to be fun. It's so that you guys can have creativity and do different things and cool things. So have fun with it. Brooklyn loved your look, so it's the start of many things.
We're going to die if we see her wearing them. Like I will hit the floor and you will hear me from wherever you are, I'm sure, from my little tiny house in Nova Scotia. Like you'll hear it.
I'm gonna have to pick you up. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, we're going to try and find some cool ways